Shawn Lane, a guitar virtuoso who left us at the young age of 40 in September 2003, may not have been a household name, but within some music circles, he was regarded as the god of all things for guitar and music in general. He began his professional career at just 15 with the southern rock band Black Oak, Arkansas. But by the mid-80s, he had already put a dent in the rock music world, scaring the hell out of many guitar gods we have come to know. Shawn Lane was considered by many to be a savant. There are stories out there from people who knew him personally who would talk about him gathering 30 to 40 books from a local library, reading them all within a week, and being able to remember every detail from what he had read. Shawn also collected movies, and would recite lines from any randomly chosen movie word for word to people's amazement. Now he carried this through to music, being able to play pretty much any instrument he got his hands on with fluidity and mastery. Shawn Lane was a misunderstood genius. He was never able to attain the popularity of many of his contemporaries, yet those who were familiar with his work were often dumbfounded by his sheer virtuosity. Shawn was not a hitmaker. While Shawn's time on Earth ended in tragedy, marred by health problems all throughout his entire career, the silver lining is that, regardless, this never stopped him from always exploring and seeing just how far music itself could be taken. Shawn Lane's entrance into the realm of music was extraordinary. He started playing piano with his sisters at around 7 years old. By 10, he had shifted his focus to guitar. By his early teens, he was practicing at full intensity. It was by this time, Shawn Lane claimed that he had all the speed and dexterity that still today defines him as the fastest guitarist that has ever lived. At age 15, Shawn Lane's mind was totally blown when he had saw Alan Holdsworth playing with a progressive band called UK. Alan Holdsworth inspired Shawn to develop his own style of playing. It was also at this time that he got an amazing opportunity for a young guy that age. His initiation to professional music took place within the southern rock band Black Oak, Arkansas, and his live performances with the band were nothing short of awe-inspiring. Interestingly, due to his underage status, they had to devise ingenious ways to sneak him into bars, where he would astound audiences with his virtuosic guitar skills. Now, these early showcases in small, intimate venues, often with no more than 75 spectators, were the humble beginnings of a legend in the making. An exhilarating clip of Shawn Lane with Black Oak, Arkansas in 1979 shows just how amazing he was with only a couple years playing under his belt at that time. Shawn Lane was using an early Roland guitar synth, believed to be a G303 model, with Black Oak, Arkansas for some tunes. This gave an otherworldly sound, especially given the time. While the recording's quality might not meet today's modern standards, it definitely shows what an amazing player he was already, and he only got better from there. What's interesting is that by this time, Shawn had fully developed a unique picking technique. Instead of holding the pick perpendicular to the strings, or even twisting it slightly, Shawn actually turned the tip of the pick a full 90 degrees with his wrist fully parallel to the strings for faster passages.
But this way you can do it and it gets a more legato sound, and you can use that kind of floating of the pick technique. Also, the important thing to keep in mind, the way I do the picking on licks like this, is by tilting the pick.
This, combined with what he called snapping, or running a series of notes and then hitting accents really hard, allowed him to not only increase speed and accuracy, but also to easily subdivide notes into groups of 3, 5, 6, or 7. What really made his phrasing so interesting is that he would mix these note groups at blazing speeds, alternating 3s and 5s, for example. For a teenager in 1979, Lane already proved to be a prodigy, but sadly by the time he joined, Black Oak, Arkansas's best years were already behind them. Still, the opportunity gave Shawn the necessary experience, setting the stage for him to take things to the next level. After the original lineup of Black Oak, Arkansas disbanded, Lane attempted to resurrect the group by recruiting players from his old high school days. This particular lineup started drifting into jazz fusion territory. Apparently, it did not catch on. Ultimately, after 4 years of touring with Black Oak, Arkansas, Shawn got burnt out from touring, so he took a long break and dove deeper into music. It was during this period that he played more piano than guitar. To get an idea of how powerful a pianist he was, check out this clip. The break that Shawn took lasted for 8 years. This long hiatus from touring culminated in music that would ultimately end up on his debut album, Powers of 10, which was released in 1992. For this release, Shawn played everything, even triggering a drum machine with his fingers to get a fully natural feel. Shawn Lane engineered, produced the album, played keys, bass, and of course guitar. This was pure Shawn Lane in every sense. Shawn let us in on his composition process, which in itself is pretty fascinating.
On the album, sometimes or the first time it was ever played, I used the computer for composing a lot. I use the computer just like a digital tape recorder almost, and I just sit down and play things. And if I get a whole section of a piece on piano or whatever instrument, keyboard instrument I'm playing, whatever sound I'm triggering from the keyboard rather, I will save that and file that away and maybe use that whole thing in a song as part of a song.
In 1993, the album was released with Sean Rickman playing the drums, adding a much more live and spontaneous feel. The songs on Powers of 10 are musically dense, yet contained some very catchy melodies and hooks which became instantly recognizable to listeners familiar with his work. The overall feel of the album was polished and highly melodic. The best known song from Powers of 10 is Get You Back, which is melodically very deep and is an excellent display of Shawn's songwriting skills. While it did not make the charts, the album did quite well in musical circles, and it earned Shawn Lane the reputation as a formidable force in music. Shawn Lane's studio work reveals a capacity for crafting memorable melodies and melodic phrases, as well as intricate, well-placed lines that can scramble the brains of any listener. Before long, Shawn Lane hit the stage again, with a mesmerizing NAMM performance alongside Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert, Reb Beach, Andy Timmons, and Alex Skolnick. All players were amazing, but everybody was completely taken aback by Shawn Lane's sheer, reckless abandon on the instrument. After the release of Powers of 10 in '92, '93 became a turning point for Shawn. He managed to release 2 instructional videos and met fellow musicians who would alter the course of his career until his passing in 2003. Shawn Lane met Jonas Hellborg, who is a highly accomplished bassist from Sweden. Jonas was already playing the circuit, becoming a member of the Mahavishnu Orchestra in the 80s and having worked with Buckethead in the early 90s. Jonas Hellborg and Shawn Lane both played on another level and shared musical interests, everything from classical to Indian. Both Shawn and Jonas were highly adventurous and experimental, so musically they formed a great pairing. The first couple albums saw them finding their sound as well as some lineup changes, yet their early efforts were already a sign that they could create amazing music together as a whole unit. For the third album, Jeff Sipe, who had been a founding member of Aquarium Rescue Unit, joined and their lineup became a tight, well-oiled machine. During this period, Shawn Lane really came into his own. This time frame shaped the rest of his musical career throughout the 90s and early 2000s. In 1995, Shawn Lane's dream came true when he met his hero, Allan Holdsworth.
My idol, Allan Holdsworth, the greatest. Not really.
It's ironic to see that at that time, Holdsworth appeared to not know who this enthusiastic fan was. Holdsworth, like Shawn, was misunderstood by the general music listener. However, everybody from Eddie Van Halen to Steve Vai to Guthrie Govan knew Allan's work well and cited him as a major influence in their playing. Shawn Lane most likely identified with Allan Holdsworth, and when he finally got to see him live, it all clicked for him as to what direction he wanted to go in musically. Now here's his chance to meet Allan, and he wasted no time in trying to find out everything he could during that meeting in terms of how Allan got his signature sound. After Shawn Lane's death in 2003, Allan spoke about how great a musician Shawn Lane was and expressed his respect for him as a friend. In between touring and recording with Jonas Hellborg's trio, Shawn Lane played on Bang a Drum, which featured John Bon Jovi, contributing a simple and melodic solo. Shawn also collaborated with other well-known musicians including Ringo Starr, Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Joe Walsh, and many others. Shawn Lane also held many clinics during this time, as well as taught at music conservatories in Europe alongside Jonas Hellborg. After the year 2000, Shawn's health began to deteriorate. Due to psoriasis, Shawn had to take hydrocortisone, which over time led to Cushing's syndrome. This resulted in a lot of pain as well as extreme obesity. It was a vicious cycle. Lane did what he could do to take as little hydrocortisone as possible, but then the psoriasis symptoms would act up, so then he had to take pain meds to deal with that. This was affecting how Shawn played the guitar. But with proper rest, Shawn claimed he could perform at full capacity. All of this was not made easier by the fact that due to our crappy healthcare system we have in the US, Shawn did not have access to proper care because he did not have medical insurance. Still, Shawn Lane soldiered on through this difficult period and kept very busy, playing as much as his body would let him get away with, as well as continuing to teach music to others through clinics. By 2003, Shawn Lane had accomplished so much in his 40 years, and he didn't show any signs of stopping. During that year, he continued playing live with his trio and made appearances all over India during the month of February. Shawn also played with Hellborg in the Swedish Jazz Celebration Festival in March. Shawn's last ever live performance took place in May 2003 at Smile Fest in North Carolina, where the trio played for a small but very excited crowd in a gymnasium. By this time, Shawn's appearance showed the toll his health problems were taking. He was at his heaviest and had unfortunately lost most of his teeth. Yet during this performance, Shawn Lane was beaming and totally in top form, playing-wise. All through this performance, Shawn played at dazzling breakneck speeds, and it was obvious that he was having a blast. Shawn also had to perform sitting down during this performance, and his longtime Swedish friend and musical cohort Jonas Hellborg also took a seat, joining Shawn in solidarity. It is great that this performance could be captured and shared on this platform, as it serves as evidence that Shawn remained unstoppable even during his final days. Sadly, on September 26, 2003, Shawn Lane passed away at the hospital. He had been taken in with severe breathing problems and had been told by doctors that he would need to be on medical oxygen for the rest of his life, but he did not make it out of the hospital during his stay. But the Shawn Lane story does not end here, and in many regards it is just beginning. During his time on Earth, Shawn never had the opportunity to reach a wide audience, even of guitar players. A lot of that is due to the fact that there was no social media. Magazines at the time wrote about whoever had a good publicist. Same with the TV. However, more and more people are discovering Shawn Lane through YouTube and other video platforms. It can be entertaining to read the comment sections where people just discover him and are completely blown away, while a few quite simply do not get what he was doing at all. Shawn Lane set a standard in equal parts technical excellence and emotional expression. He could scare the hell out of a listener 1 second and have them bawling the next. Since there are so many layers to unravel of this misunderstood genius, I encourage everybody watching to dig a little deeper and see what this guy was all about. And while he may not be here with us, his legacy definitely lives on.